Well, hello there. This is Rauf Sheikh, also known as Roofy. Most of you probably know me by that name because that's my stage name. Usually I'm behind an instrument and you guys don't really listen to me talk or sing or say anything. But in this case, I'm doing this radio / podcast, whatever you want to call it, just so that we could get some information out there. Talk about some of the stuff that happens in music and how music has become an integral part in our lives. A lot of the music that we associate with doesn't really associate with us from a musical perspective. It actually invokes memories that we have associated with that music. So that being said, in this episode we're going to go on to a lighter style of music, which most of you probably already know of, Bollywood. So in Bollywood music, one of the things that we associate that with is, the good, happy-go-lucky sort of feel to it. A lot of the movies, which can vary from like 2 hours to 3 hours, depending on how old it is or what the plot is, of course. But typically, every movie back in the day used to have between 8 to 12 songs. And almost, if in that span, I think you would probably think that every couple of minutes there was a song and dance number, but essentially that's not what was happening. But there was a plot, so we used to watch those movies with that twist in the plot, and then all of a sudden there'd be a song and dance. But that being said, one of the songs that really strikes a chord, one of my favorites, I think this dates back to 1986 or 87, the movie called Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. Now again, it wasn't a very amazing movie, but the fact that the music was absolutely incredible. One of the things about the music that I loved was, number one, the music was done by Anand and Milan. And I think one of the coolest things about this is it didn't sound like the recordings of it didn't actually sound like the actual stuff that was being produced in those days. This recording was totally different, and especially for the songs in this album, very clear, crisp, and so a lot of memories associated with that, of course, growing up and listening to this stuff. And so this is one of my favorite tracks from that movie. It's called the track's name is "Ae Mere Humsafar." Take a listen and we'll talk about it after. Enjoy.
ऐ मेरे हम सफर एक जरा इंतजार, सुन सदाएं दे रही है मंजिल प्यार की। ऐ मेरे हम सफर एक जरा इंतजार, सुन सदाएं दे रही है मंजिल प्यार की। अब है जुदाई का मौसम, दो पल का मेहमान, कैसे ना जाएगा अंधेरा, क्यों न थमेगा तूफान। क्यों न थमेगा तूफान कैसे ना मिलेगी मंजिल प्यार की है मेरे हम सफर एक जरा इंतजार सुन सदाएं दे रही है मंजिल प्यार की प्यार ने जहाँ पे रखा है झूम के कदम एक बार वहीं से खुला है कोई रास्ता वहीं से गिरी है दीवार प्यार ने जहाँ पे रखा है झूम के कदम एक बार वहीं से खुला है कोई रास्ता वहीं से गिरी है दीवार रोके कब रुकी है मंजिल प्यार की ऐ मेरे हम सफर एक जरा इंतजार सुन सदाएं दे रही है मंजिल प्यार की ऐ मेरे हम सफर एक जरा इंतजार सुन सदाएं दे रही है मंजिल प्यार की
All right, so thank you for listening in. That was Amir Hamsafar from the movie Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. The singer was Udit Narayan, and I think it might have been his one of his first, or one of his few first songs that he's ever sang for Bollywood. And the music director and composer was Anand and Miland. This is going back to, I think, 86 or 87, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you know, one of my childhood friends and I, someone that I grew up with back in Montreal, my friend Aman, he's joined us. Welcome to the show, Aman.
Hey, how's it going over there?
All right, good, man. How are you?
Not bad, just enjoying the lockdown, state of emergency, or whatever we want to call it, and finding time to do things.
Yeah, so I did the exact same thing. I found some time to make this little recording. I guess it's I don't know if it's a podcast or if it's a radio show. I don't know what it is. But yeah, this is all about music. So one of the songs I was playing was Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. I just heard that. And I know that's one of my favorite songs. And I know that that's one of your favorite songs, most favorite songs. So I want you to talk about this song. I want you to tell our listeners, what the song means to you, and give me some technicality and why this song is different from. I mean, there's a multitude of songs that came out in the 80s, but this one was different. So I want you to talk about that.
Sure. Well, starting off, the reason why I love this song so much is because my whole passion for music and singing started with this song. When I first performed this song on stage with my band at that time, it was the top song on the charts, and it was a romantic song, and it was very well recorded. The orchestration was phenomenal on this song.
Yeah, agreed.
Basically, track recording has, it's still done, but digitally. But back then, it was done on tape. And this song was one of the songs that had amazing strings and amazing stanzas and lyrics that you couldn't even imagine. All the young crowd was into it, whether it was India, whether it was Pakistan, everybody was singing it. A lot of bands in Pakistan sang it as well. Along with this song was Qayamat Se, from Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, Ae Mere Humsafar, and also Jab Koi Baat Bigad Jaye was very popular in those days.
Right, yeah.
And that was another song that I used to love and sing a lot. So, you know what? If anybody plays these songs on the radio or in their car at any time, you will not get bored because these are evergreen songs and they will never die.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the main important things about this song specifically, or this album from Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, I think this is when they started using the new technology in terms of recording, right? I remember listening to other songs from the same era, and the recording wasn't so clear. But this one was like phenomenally clear. The singer sounded great. Each instrument you could hear, the dholak, you could hear the tabla in it. You could also hear the strings, the guitar, the bass guitar, the drums, the hi hats, everything. You could hear so crystal clear. And I later found out that. What they used to do versus what they did for this song. What they used to do was they would stick all musicians in one room and have this huge, this huge room with all the musicians, and they had to have 4 mics across a room, and they would record them live. Meanwhile, there was the singer that was in another room that would sing with the live band, and they would record it that way. But in this case, what they did was this is the first time that the multi-track recording was introduced, and they started recording individual tracks. So the tabla and the dholak had their own track, and then they had the drums that had its own track, and then the synthesizers or the keyboards had its own track, the guitars, the bass, and the strings, and then the singer had his own tracks. So I think that's why the recording quality of the song is so much more better. Even for today's standards, I think. What do you think? I mean, even for today's standards, I think it sounds really, really good.
It's original. People actually played the instruments on this compared to today's stuff. It's I always like recording from back in the day, because the musicians got together, sat down, and had fun together while recording. Now it's all just one instrument, and you can play any instrument on that. So, it had its own charm, and the way things are going these days, it has its own charm.
Yeah,
the young generation likes this because they can, sit at home, record their stuff. If they're not that good, they can correct themselves.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be true musicians in order to record themselves. Hence what we see out there now, right? According to us, every generation doesn't like what the next one brings. Although, it's different. Our parents said the same thing about our songs, right?
Yeah,
and we say the same thing about the only difference was there was, even in songs, there was, as far as I know, until our generation, there was some tehzeeb in our songs. There was some respect in our songs, and I see, music can change, but I don't believe we should change the way we express our feelings by bringing certain words into our songs that are not doing songs justice.
Yeah, I mean, unnecessary words. But again, I get it. I mean, back in our day, if you listen to some of the stuff from the older stuff, like one of the songs that I was listening to before, and that I had our listeners was listening to, was a Mehdi Hassan song. It was a Tumri, Nadia Kinare Moragaon, and of course that language that was used in that, it wasn't, it was an older language, older style language. And then we, of course, get into this kind of stuff. And this is more mainstream, I guess, Hindi and Urdu mixed, whatever. But nowadays, you listen to the stuff that's out there, there's so much more slang, and there's so much more English words in the lyrics themselves. So, yeah.
The lyrics are so vulgar.
Yeah. And I think they're really dumbed down for the new generation. So it just makes it a lot simpler. But of course, I remember back in the days when you and I used to be on stage and performing with our parents. Those songs had real substance, right? And now we're at that stage where, to be honest with you, how much music I play, how much functions I do, how many shows I do. I would say 90% of the time, I don't even understand the lyrics that they're singing. I'm not even sure what they're saying because I'm not paying attention. I'm only paying attention to, the rhythm and the music. Whereas back in the day, ask us about a song from like the 80s and the 90s, and we pretty much all know all the lyrics to them, right?
Yeah, because everything is like a assembly line, basically. Even singers are coming out. The singers are being manufactured like iPhones.
nice analogy.
Going on the street, want to sing? Come. I'll record you. Yeah, you don't suck. You're amazing, man. Come.
And then everyone just sticks autotune on.
And what saddens me because of this is there are perfectly good singers like Udit Narayan, like Kumar Sanu, Alka Yagnik, and all that are in my words sitting there collecting dust, while all these young guys and kids who can't even sing at all use software to enhance their voice are becoming popular. Let's give respect to the people who are still alive and use them until they're alive.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Certainly people will replace them, but we don't give respect to those singers.
Yeah, that's true. And and in all fairness too, I mean, I don't think we're giving respect to the singers that have passed away too. And I heard somewhere, and I'm not sure how true this is, there was some unreleased recordings, vocal recordings of Muhammad Rafi Saab and of course Kishore Kumar Saab. But I'm not sure if that's true or not. But I mean, I would love to hear some of those recordings and have music with today's standards applied to it and then released. That would be amazing. But yeah, so I mean, talking about music in general, I mean, of course, going back to Amir Hamsafar, and there's a whole bunch of other songs from that movie that were just fantastic. I mean, the movie itself, it was questionable.
There were multiple songs. There was Jab Koi Baat Bigad Jaye, then there was Pehla Nasha.
Yeah,
those were
one of the most famous songs of Amir Hamsafar was that one, Papa Kehte Hain, what is it? Papa Kehte hain ke bada naam karega, beta hamara bada kaam karega. So that was, I remember going to Pakistan in my younger days, and anytime that song would come on, everyone would get up and dance to it, doing the twist, because it was like a very twisty sort of song, right? But yeah, you know what? And unfortunately, I mean that's I mean, there's some people like Bappi Lahiri still around, and he's still doing stuff like that. More recently, he came out with that for Dirty Picture. But it was, I mean, of course, that Dirty Picture movie was situated back in the '80s, so it had that '80s feel, but with a new twist to it. But yeah, man, Aman, I really appreciate you calling in and helping me out and talking about this song and the songs from those eras. As being my childhood buddy, we've been best friends for almost 40 years. Yeah, so I mean, of course, your opinion is very much valuable to me, and so thanks for taking my call and giving us some insight onto this.
No problem, man. Stay safe.
All right, you too, man. Take care.
All right,
bye. Well, that was my friend Aman. Aman, thanks again for giving us insight into this music. This is stuff that we grew up on, and really appreciate your insight. Let's keep in mind, music changes with time, and I think it's kind of cool. Where you have two styles of music joining to create a third style. The main important thing here to remember is that music, for us, I mean, when we look back at our older stuff and we say, hey, you know what, this was better, and our parents are looking back to their stuff from their years and saying this was better than compared to ours, and that's going to happen with the new generation as well. But you got to remember one thing: it's not the music that's better or worse. It's the one thing that makes it so special to you is the fact that those specific songs from that time have a memory associated with them. And that memory could be, your first love, your first car, or your first trip with your friends, or your first dance, or whatever. I mean, it's a special memory that's associated with those songs. Or maybe it's just a feeling that song gave you, and you want to relive that. Every time you hear that song, you relive that feeling. So that being said, folks, in our next episode, I think what we're going to do is move on to some Western music, stuff that I've been influenced by. So that being said, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, guys, please feel free to put them down at the bottom here, and let me know. And I promise I'll do my best to accommodate every single one of you. Thank you again for listening in. Until the next episode, please stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and stay healthy. Until next episode, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.